All right, Pickle. There are 671.
Let's go. We're back up to the good numbers.
We're back up. We're back in.
I want you to let them know we're back up.
Next week, that number is going to be lower, but because it's actually the second biggest open date. The biggest reason why is almost all of six-man football is off.
Okay.
Almost all of the six-man teams are off because a lot of them are in 4-team districts. And so, with 3 district games, they take the week 8 bye, then 9, 10, 11, right? So we are back up to 671 Texas high school football games this week. We've got computer projections of every game on TexasFootball.com right now if you go there. But we had to go into the lab and figure out what we thought were the top 10 games of this week. So without further ado, let's roll out the top 10 Texas high school football games of the week. There you go. We're going to start in the middle, as we normally do. 7:30 p.m. Friday night at Panther Stadium in Bells. It is a top 4 matchup in 3A Division II as the Gunner Tigers travel to take on the number 4 ranked Bells Panthers. A fascinating game for a lot of different reasons. This is a Gunner team that has really, they had that one game against Brock where they got pushed, but they got the win. This is probably their second biggest test of the year, depending on what you think of Brock. Going up against Bells, going up against a team that does run the slot T, and as we know, the slot T is the devil. This is a team that's pretty loaded. We're going to talk with Coach Dale West coming up here in a moment, but they're loaded, and they feel like this is the year for them to strike. A lot of big-time playmakers like Brock Baker, Cooper Smith, etc. How do they handle the defense from Gunner, and how do they handle that kind of pistol slot, pistol options from Gunner? Fascinating matchup in 3A Division II.
We also said that if there's one thing guaranteed in this game, it's that it's going to go by quick.
It's going to be quick. A lot of running in this game.
A lot of running. Very quick game.
7:30 p.m. Friday night in Texarkana. Top 3 matchup in 4A Division II. It's number 2 versus number 3 as the Gilmer Buckeyes travel to Hawk Stadium to take on the Pleasant Grove Hawks. We talked about this on Tep and Step, which you filled in on. This is, in a lot of ways, it's too simple. It's too cute by half to call it speed versus power. But PG is going to be the bigger team.
Yep.
Gilmer's probably going to have more weaponry on the outside, like Rohan Flewellen, things like that. So how do the other defenses kind of mitigate those particular advantages for the offense? It's really what this comes down to. Remember, the top 3 teams in 3A or in 4A Division II are all in Region 2 because Carthage, the number 1 team, is looming there. So the winner of this game, it kind of does feel like a qualifier. Now, the other one's not out, certainly, but the winner of this game is certainly going to be in the driver's seat to win the district championship. Figures to be a fun matchup out there in Texarkana at Hawk Stadium. 7:30 p.m. Friday night in Richland Springs. Another 3 versus 2. This in the 1A Division II ranks as the Cherokee Indians, the number 3 team in 1A Division II, visits the number 2 ranked Richland Springs Coyotes in the most anticipated 6-man game of the year.
Yes.
That's not a hyperbole. This has been the game everyone's had circled. We saw Cherokee in person.
We did.
We like Cherokee a lot.
We do.
They look the part. They've got a number of big-time playmakers like Gunnar Ball, like Joey Bond. They've got a secret weapon in Rhodey Ligon, who's one of the more impressive kickers in the 6-man world.
He's huge, too.
Going up against Richland Springs. Now, Richland Springs probably needs no introduction. They've got 9 state championships to their name. They are one of the most decorated. They're the most decorated program in 6-man football. They're one of the most decorated programs in Texas high school football. They've got a great player this year in Braxton Etheridge who does a little bit of everything. They're used to having kind of that do-it-all star. Braxton Etheridge is that guy, the sophomore. We'll talk about it in the picks a little bit more, but this is beating Richland Springs at home is a chore. It hasn't happened since 2013. Beating Richland Springs in a district game, and this is a district game, is even more of a chore considering Richland Springs has not lost a playoff game since 2001.
That's insane.
20 years.
Yeah, that's wild.
They have not lost a district game. But it's a big challenge tonight, tomorrow night, Richland Springs hosting Cherokee. 7 o'clock Friday night in Duncanville. The number 4 ranked Duncanville Panthers in Class 6A welcoming Waxahachie in another in those roundabout in the District of Doom. Duncanville is a team we probably haven't paid attention to the past couple of weeks because they've just kind of rolled past people. Last week they had an open date, but before that they kind of drilled Cedar Hill, who's 0-5. Before that they played Lake Ridge. They get into the meat of their district right now, where it's Waxahachie, Mansfield, then they play Skyline, who's winless, but then they play DeSoto in week 10. So this is the real meat of the schedule for Duncanville. They have looked the part. We think that they have a number. I think that defense has really rounded into form. And, of course, they're going to have their number of playmakers taking on this Waxahachie team that, I think is still smarting a little bit, at least coming off of that loss at DeSoto back in Week 5. They had that Week 6 open date. Can they get the wheels back on? They will need to, in a lot of ways. I think the onus is on that defense to slow down Duncanville and get a couple of stops in this one. Duncanville's your favorite, especially being at home, but this game figures to be really tasty. Duncanville and Waxahachie.
Well, and Waxahachie talks a lot about wanting to be, one of the top teams in that district. And after you drop a pretty bad one to DeSoto, like if you genuinely want to be considered in that conversation, this is a must-win game.
Yeah. You don't want to. Yeah, I mean,
not from a district standpoint, but from if you want to be in the conversation.
But it's like if you want to be in that conversation, like you go out there and you get a scalp like this.
Yep.
7 o'clock Friday night in Coleman, a top 10 matchup in 2A Division I as the number 6 Coleman Blue Cats welcome in the number 9 Toller Rattlers. We've mentioned before that we like this Coleman team. This Coleman team, I think, has a lot to like about this team. They have a quarterback who's pretty spectacular. That I think is going to stretch this Toller team. Their one loss on the year is, of course, to Llano, but Llano is a state-ranked 3A Division I team, so I don't know if I put a ton of stock into that, but guys like Jaden Jackson, their quarterback, have been fantastic. This Toller team may be flying under people's radar, and I'm not really sure why. It may be, one of the things may be that quite simply, they haven't necessarily played anybody that I think would, their best win is probably that win over Comanche, right before the open date. They did that, but I also thought that they were better than them. They go and they beat Hamilton last week. They have been very strong, especially on the defensive side. I think that what Coach Jeremy Mullins' defense has been doing has been very strong. Wyatt Jones, Mason Berry in that kind of front seven. They got a quarterback, Jackson Lecluse, who's very strong as well. He is a 3-year starter there a 4-year starter there for Toller. So keep an eye on that game there in Coleman. 7 o'clock Friday night in Humble. Live on TexanLive.com.
Let's go.
It's a top 25 matchup in 1A division, or 6A rather, as the number 1 ranked Galena Park North Shore Mustangs visit the newly ranked number 25 Humble Summer Creek Bulldogs. Remember, Summer Creek was a team that I believe made the playoffs or made the state semifinals last year.
Yes.
They got hot at the right time, and they may be doing that thing once again. Now, they do have 2 losses on the year, albeit to Klein Kane and to Klein Collins. Both narrow losses, a combined 7 points in those two. But this is I think this is a Summer Creek team that I think has a fair number of weapons that can challenge this North Shore team, especially on the defensive side. I like what they bring on the defensive side, but let's be real, this is a huge challenge for them, taking on the number 1 team in the state. A big question is going to be the status of Caleb Bailey. Caleb Bailey, the quarterback for Galena Park North Shore, went out with injury the last game. We do not have an update. My feeling, again, we're going to use, to borrow a concept from Split Zone Duro, we're going to use therapy words here. I think, I feel, I know. I feel that no news is good news here.
Yes.
In the sense that if Caleb Bailey were out for the year, I think we'd know about it.
Yes.
They put David Amador, their wide receiver, at quarterback last week, and things seemed to go well.
Touchdown, Dave.
So I don't know, touchdown Dave. So I don't know. I don't know that they are going to rush Caleb Bailey back.
No, I don't think that there's any reason to.
My guess, I think you'll probably see David Amador quarterback.
Yes.
The question is can Humble Summer Creek score enough on this defense, which remains the challenge there. 7:30 p.m. Friday night in Longview. It is another district showdown with the number 1 team in 5A Division I, the Longview Lobos, welcoming in perhaps a team you haven't paid a ton of attention to, the Forney Jackrabbits, who are off to a really nice 4-1 start on the year with Coach Fleener. They dropped that opener to Crandall, 58-55, and I think we kind of forgot about them a little bit. But since then, they have been very impressive, including their last 2 games. They have beaten West Mesquite and they've beaten Lufkin. That's not lunch meat. I think that's really, very strong kind of group of results there for Jeff Fleener's squad. And their offense, surprise, surprise for Coach Jeff Fleener, has been very, very strong. Javian Osborne, their running back, has been great. Brent Payne, they've got a big-time wide receiver in Ronnie Harrison. They can put up points. But going to Longview is a chore. This Longview team has not skipped a beat this year, at all. They're coming off of that win over Lancaster and then an open date. They feel like the favorite in this one. We will find out a lot more about how well Forney stacks up in this game, but a big game out there in Longview, America tomorrow night. 7 o'clock Friday night in Chilton, another top 10 matchup. This one in 2A Division 2 as the Bremond Tigers take on the Chilton Pirates there at Featherston Field, I think it is.
Yes,
the name of it?
That is
Featherston Field.
correct.
So Chilton is very workmanlike, and I sometimes that can be used as like a sometimes that can be used like as a
dig that they're not super athletic.
But I think this team is really. I think what this Chilton team does really well is that they kind of take the game over the game early, and they don't let you take it from there.
They kind of put you in a chokehold.
They've got Dalen Ford, their superstar athlete, does a little bit of everything. Markedrick Taylor, they put up points. I mean, this is a team that's last couple of weeks the offense has really come alive. But their defense is going to need to be as good as it's been the whole year because they're going up against a Bremond team with a very, very special playmaker. If you do not know the name Braylon Wortham, the sophomore quarterback from Bremond, you need to familiarize yourself post-haste. This guy is a superstar, and that's going to be a real challenge for this Chilton defense. A fascinating game there, 7 o'clock Friday night in Chilton. If Bremond goes on the road and gets this win, it's really time to start thinking seriously about this team. 7:30 p.m. Friday night in Winsboro, another top 10 matchup. This one in 3A Division 2 as the Winsboro Red Raiders take on the Mount Vernon Purple Tigers. So Winsboro is a team that I think I like this team, but I'm also waiting for more.
Yes.
Because right now, their best win is probably beating Canton in week 2. 62-37. Impressive, but that's a 2-4 Canton team. It is a 4A team, but it's a 2-4 Canton team. This is their biggest test in my mind that they've faced this year. Their offense has been off the charts good for Josh Finney's squad. I mean, their offense is averaging, I want to say, let's see if I can pull it up real quick, 56 points a game. Yeah. Okay, their offense has been lighting it up. Defense has not had to be great, so it kind of hasn't been.
Which is funny because that's the tale for both of these teams.
Jacob Russell, Hayden Deaton, et cetera, their offense has been great. Defense kind of remains to be seen. Mount Vernon's interesting because Mount Vernon is, of course, number 2 in the state in 3A Division 2, but we still have really big questions about them, and perhaps you're saying, well, Tepper, that's unfair. We know how good Mackenzie McGill is, their running back.
Yes.
But with quarterback Braden Bennett out for the year, the whole complexion of this team kind of changes. Now, look, without Braden Bennett, offense has been humming. They hung 68 on Bonham last week. Now, it's a bad Bonham team, but they did that. This is the first real test for this new-look Winsboro team. That's, to me, the real headline here. The first real test for this new-look Winsboro team. So, I am excited. Good.
New-look Winsboro?
No, I'm sorry, new-look Mount Vernon.
I was like, hang on.
Thank you.
Classic old Winsboro with their biggest test. New-look Mount Vernon team. There we go.
Correct. Absolutely. So, huge game out there in Winsboro. And finally, 7 o'clock Friday night in Liberty Hill. How about this game? A little bit, it's one of those weird districts where, like, you kind of had to lump in teams from different areas of the state to kind of make it work. As Liberty Hill, the number 2 team in 5A Division 2, welcome in the San Antonio Veterans Memorial Patriots, a team that perhaps you haven't thought a ton about, but I think has a really nice resume. They've got a couple of wins over good teams like Harlandale, like Lockhart. They've been fun to watch. And their one loss in the year is to San Antonio Taft, who's a really good 6A team. So that's why I look at this team and I say, okay, I am intrigued. I'm intrigued to see what you do going up against this very dangerous Liberty Hill team. Veterans Memorial is going to be a team that I think has a number of playmakers offensively. They run the ball particularly well. They've got a running back named James Peoples who's been very strong to start the year. Their senior quarterback C.J. Irving has been good as well. Going up against Liberty Hill. We haven't talked about Liberty Hill in a minute because they've kind of been rolling past people.
They figured it out. They were playing some close games at the beginning of the year, but I think that could have been partially figuring out the cut block rule.
They had that loss. I also think the schedule just lightened up.
Yeah,
I mean
that's true.
they beat Cedar Creek last week 70-10 because Cedar Creek's pretty bad. to me, this is a real test for their defense because this defense has not been tested in about 3 weeks.
No.
And so exactly how does this defense answer the call? We know their offense is probably going to hum. How does that defense respond? So there it is, the top 10 Texas high school football games of the week. You can watch a fair number of them on TexanLive.com, so make sure you go check that out.
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you would like more and to be notified when they come out, go ahead and click that subscribe button right down there. You can also watch Texas Football Today every day live at noon on TexasFootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, and right here on YouTube. For more of the best coverage of Texas football in the Lone Star State, go to TexasFootball.com/subscribe.